First white South Africans to arrive under U.S. refugee plan as soon as next week. Now, this is a really, I'm kind of ambivalent. It's upsetting as all hell. We, as a people, went to the southern tip of Africa, and like we do, and have always done, and will always do as long as the source is preserved, we project ourselves into our environment. And we build our culture, which is our instinct in aggregate. And then our culture becomes towns, and that becomes cities, and we establish a country. And then, because we have this, if we have a seed of anything, it is a seed of selfish individualism that we haven't overcome. And then we have this selfish individualism that then victimizes fellow white people for the benefit of white people at the top, for the benefit of their wealth, for the benefit of their opportunity for sex partners, for the benefit of their power. If our social morality was that we achieve individual well-being by way of group well-being, like percentages of non-white groups do, when selfish, individualistic white people endeavor to enrich themselves at the expense of our people, they would have to move through the body of our people to do it. Who would carry it out? Every order they would give would have to go through the hired individuals, the enslaved individuals, and their families to be able to realize it. And in all of that, and every single step along the way, to realize that selfishly individualistic victimization of our people, it would be confronted with the inertia of white people saying, no, our norm is individual well-being by way of group well-being. We don't victimize ourselves. We don't victimize our people. It would make it nigh impossible for a tyrant to victimize the body of our people. He or she would have to do it, achieve power only through the well-being of our people. Instead, what happened in the once great country of South Africa, wealthy, selfish, individualistic white people victimized the white people under their command, in their employment. There were also white people who infected by anti-whiteism from external sources, but also just this good-heartedness, this open-heartedness, wanting to take care of everybody else, projecting ourselves into everyone and everything else. We project ourselves into rocks around us, into nature. We give nature our consciousness. That is a great strength and a great weakness of the white race. Why? Because you had this infernal union of white people looking out at the black masses around this beautiful country that we had created called South Africa, saying, look at how poor and miserable they are. Bring them in. If I were in their position, my heart would be torn asunder. I wouldn't want to live like that. I wouldn't want to live running around naked across the Sahara. I wouldn't want to be suffering like eating raw meat, and I wouldn't want to, and dealing with that savagery. Bring them in, for God's sake. And then the selfish, individualistic business owners said, you know what? These white people, they're expensive. I'm going to fire all of them, and I'll bring in these black people. Does this sound a little bit like the rest of the West? You got to place the blame where it goes if you want to remedy the problem. So they said, you know what? I want to bring in all of these others because it's going to be a lot cheaper to have all of these blacks come in and work for me. And that means I'll have more money, more sex partners, more power, more etc. And so those two groups came together to open the doors to the black population of Africa, not South Africa, We are South Africa, just like we are Orania. And now the exact same arguments are being used by anti-whites. How dare they have this safe space? They're ruining our diversity. How dare they produce? How dare they have jobs that they created for themselves? All of the exact same arguments as were employed with the country of South Africa. These people came in, anti-whiteism infected the totality of our population there, caused them, as we were talking about earlier in this conversation, to surrender the defense of ourselves, to disavow ourselves of South Africa. Do you all remember before 94? All of the marches by white people saying, it's not ours. South Africa isn't ours. The government isn't ours. The military isn't ours. The waterworks treatment plants aren't ours. The ideas of governance itself and stuff, they're not ours. It belongs to everybody. It belongs to everybody. And what happens when you make that mistake? Tragedy of the commons, my friends. Can I get an amen? The white people that cared about our South Africa, they were overwhelmed with a social morality that is the anti-white immoral imperative, so that it was immoral to stand up for white people, what was ours. Other whites attempted to defend what was ours as abstractions, just like you see conservatives in the United States, in the UK, in Germany, in Italy, in Australia. Defend the institutions, defend the ideas as abstractions. And you see what good that comes to us. So we lowered our guard. We had the white people who selfishly, individualistically could get away from the immediate consequences of anti-whiteism, the immediate introduction of these populations from the wild. And they said, just like I was talking about earlier, give them what they want, appease them. We're fine. Who cares what happens to them white people over there? Who cares? We're good. And inch by inch, we divested ourselves of the government and the entity of South Africa. It still exists. It's not on a landmass anymore. It's inside the white South Africans that aren't anti-white. That's where it exists. It exists, South Africa, more in me and more in you, irrespective of if you're white, irrespective of where you were born, than the black South Africans in the government there. They are remaking South Africa to reflect who and what they are, to reflect what they were and are before being brought into our country called South Africa. And so we watch as the American government, heavily influenced by the ADL and ancillary organizations composed of Jewish people concerned with the interest and well-being of Jews. And we watch as, since they're organized, a percentage of the overall Jewish population, and they're concerned with their individual well-being by way of group well-being, we watch them with their wealth, with their contacts, with their willingness to achieve that sacred individual well-being by way of group well-being, manipulate the American government to fight endless conflicts, regime changes, and etc. for them. And we watch as the military industrial complex, a bunch of white old guys worried about themselves and their money, influence the government of the United States to engage in regime change here and regime change there. We watch it again and again. Our ingenuity, our blood, our toil, our honor, which used to be sacred, sullied by all of this behavior around the globe. And when it comes to ourselves in South Africa, no regime change, no white race showing up. You better believe that if the United States was a Jewish country, if the United States was founded by a bunch of Jews, not a bunch of white men, proud, heroic white men, if it was founded by a bunch of Jews and the population of this country was composed of Jews, and South Africa the same, you better believe that the United States would be there in such force that not a single anti-Jew would be left alive in South Africa. But not the white race. Not the white race, no. We look on in the United States, the leadership here looks on with total disregard to what's being done to ourselves. Now, you know what I'm saying, ourselves, because the white brothers and sisters in South Africa are us. Because I have the right mindset, because the House of Swash has the right mindset. They are us. So the United States government looks on with the longest and harshest array of anti-white laws on planet Earth being implemented. Horrific attacks on white people where there's ritualistic rape murders. We watch as these ritualistic rape murders are conducted and then said by the South African courts to be robberies gone wrong. Somebody went into the wrong house and this happened, so they're going to be let go. We watch as they pass greater and greater, not only land appropriation, but also appropriation of property of white people, not some group in South Africa, our group. And instead of triumphantly, with the muscle and the intelligence and the ferocity of the white man, sweep into that landmass and obliterate everything anti-white. Leave not one alive to tell the story about what it was like the day the sky turned black with our heroes and the horizon turned black with our heroes in such numbers, in such swarms, the world has never known and will never know again. Not one left alive. Instead of that, Trump says, well, I'm going to let a bunch of these South Africans come over. Which ones? How much do you want to bet that Trump and the Republican Party are going to bring in black South Africans too? You want to bet? I mean, I don't know that it's already happened or it's happening, or I know conservatives. This isn't about race, even when you're saving white people from government-sponsored and government-permitted militia rape and murder and land theft and property theft. It's not about race. That's a sickness that has to be cured if we are going to put an end to our victimization as a people, if we are going to recapture our destiny and control our countries once again. So here you have it. Washington, Reuters, President Donald Trump's administration is aiming to bring the first group of white South Africans to the United States via the refugee program as soon as next week. 3 people familiar with the matter said. A divisive effort given that Trump has been blocking refugee admissions from the rest of the world. So you watch as it unfolds, and he brings in black South Africans. The Trump administration aims to fly the initial cohort of about 50 Afrikaners into Washington Dulles International Airport in Virginia. It's right up here near the nation's capital. Another creation of the white man. Do you know what was there before? Farms built by the white man. Now you have this colossal airport with flying machines and electricity, gifts from the white man. And then you have to deal with anti-white black women at Frontier Airlines, treating you like garbage. The Trump administration aims to fly the initial cohort to Washington Dulles The group would participate in a press conference at the airport and then board flights to the U.S. destination. So this is, like I said, I'm ambivalent because we built the West, and that includes the West in South Africa. And instead of using our collective strength, coming to each other's aid, we're just going to cherry pick some white people out of South Africa. As the South Africanization takes place in the United States. Fun trivia question. Where do white people go when there are no more countries with white people to extract them from the consequences of anti-whiteism and our selfish individualism?